The old guard versus the new. This may be the last time we see cobblestones in the octagon, as this may be Kamaru Usman's final fight in the UFC if he loses. But will he lose? I don't know, guys. I don't know. Either way, I'm here to do my breakdown and predictions for every single fight on this card. And you know what? This is a pretty solid fight night card. I'm not going to say it's a great fight night, but it's solid. All right, it's pretty good. You've got some prospects. You've got a lot of OGs like Cody Garbrandt. We've got the return of Kris Moutinho. He's on a 5-fight win streak. I mean, can he win in the UFC? We'll see. Ricky Simone's in the house, man. We got a lot of good fights on this card. But before we get into it, are you tired of having the same boring protein shakes over and over again? Well, you don't need to have those anymore. I'm going to show you guys how to make a mango lassi from the Real Food Cookbook. We're going to spice it up with some mango lassi, starting with a cup of grass-fed milk and a cup of grass-fed Greek yogurt. We're then going to go to a cup and a half of some mango, then 3 spoonfuls of raw honey, and now for the secret ingredient, don't forget this, a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. We're going to blend that up, and you've got yourself a mango lassi. That is a shake that's going to kick ass after the gym. That's right, if you guys are interested in more recipes like that, you can check out the Real Food Cookbook. The Real Food Cookbook has helped billions of people around the world get in shape, eating tasty comfort foods made with whole and unprocessed ingredients. Use code MMA for 30% off. The link to the Real Food Cookbook is in the description of this video. But without further ado, let's get into this. Jamie Lynn Horth versus Vanessa Demopoulos.
Jamie Lynn Horth's been on an absolute roll. She's on a 3-fight win streak. She's riding high. Vanessa Demopoulos, on the other hand, she's coming off of a 2 KO streak. I think that Jamie Lynn Horth, with her long, rangy style, she's got a great front kick to the midsection. Vanessa Demopoulos has a great right hand to the body. I'm going to say that Jamie Lynn Horth, I think she's going to go in there. I think she's going to shoot a couple of takedowns. I think she's going to level change, maybe parry the hands.
And I think Vanessa Demopoulos is going to meet her head on with a flying armbar. I think she's going to meet her with a flying armbar. But let's get serious, guys. Jamie Lynn Horth 5'7" versus 5'2". I mean, but then we got to look at the records, right? 11-7 versus Vanessa Demopoulos. So Jamie Lynn Horth has the record advantage. Vanessa Demopoulos has actually, she doesn't have an advantage that I see at all. So I'm going to go with Jamie Lynn Horth. 7-2, 5'7", reach advantage. So she's got a 5-inch height advantage. She has a 7-inch reach advantage, a much better record. I think Jamie Lynn Horth is going to get this one done, guys. Let's get on to the next fight. Phil Rowe versus Ange Loosa. This is actually pretty tricky because Phil Rowe has dropped the ball quite a bit in his last few fights. I picked this guy to beat Neil Magny, and that's because he has a similar reach to Neil Magny. He's one of the only guys that can match Neil Magny on reach in the welterweight division. He has an 80.5-inch reach, and he has power. Phil Rowe has heat in his hands. He can knock people out. He's fast. He has good, long, rangy punches. He went in there against Neil Magny, and I'm pretty sure he literally said he was going to beat Magny in the clinch, either before or after the fight. Maybe that's not 100% true. This guy went in there trying to win a clinch fight with Neil Magny. So you just have to question the fight IQ. And also, he went out there and he lost to Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews is a bit of an enigma in the UFC. He's either looking as mid as you can possibly look, or he has a night where he's just firing on all cylinders. I don't know, man. Ange Loosa's a tough out. He's the epitome of a tough out. But is he as good as Jake Matthews? I feel like if Jake Matthews and Ange Loosa were to fight, and you're picking one of their fights after the fact, and you're going back in the record, and you're seeing Jake Matthews versus Ange Loosa, I'm pretty sure Jake Matthews is getting that decision. I'm pretty sure it's going to say Jake Matthews won by decision. So they're in a very similar area when it comes to skill. Obviously, they're built very different. Phil Rowe, he is going to have a significant reach advantage, a 6.5-inch reach advantage. He's going to have a 5-inch height advantage. But then again, man, What are we going to see in this? Loosa is impossible to put away. JDM was cracking this guy's chin for 15 straight minutes. Loosa has never been put away. He's never been knocked out. I don't know if Phil Rowe can do it. I know Phil Rowe's got decent jiu-jitsu, but what's that based on? That's based on him competing in a bunch of grappling matches. Loosa, he's a tough out, and he's got brick wall takedown defense. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I'm going to go with Phil Rowe just because of the reach advantage and the height advantage. I feel like that could be the X factor in this one. Loosa's good. He's got good boxing. You know, he's a tough out. He's the epitome of a tough out, but I just don't see him doing anything great. Whereas at least Phil Rowe has the ability to be really good at range, to keep this at distance. And so I'm going to pick Phil Rowe by a decision. Let's get on to the next one. Ricky Simón versus Charles Jourdain is not the fight. The real fight is Ricky Simón versus Cameron Smotherman. This is easy to pick. I'm going with Ricky Simón. I know that Cameron Smotherman lost his last fight, and you know he had some hype going into that. I picked Surdy Sai to beat him because Cameron Smotherman, he's not that fast. He's a little bit plotty. And that's not going to be a big issue in a Ricky Simón matchup because Ricky Simón is not like, you know, Kyler Phillips or something. He's not moving around 100 miles per hour in the octagon. He's got a very simple game, and he is short and stocky. So he's not like a rangy fighter. He's going to go in there, try to land his jab, hard leg kick. Every now and then he's going to sneak in a big overhand, and he's going to go for a blast double leg. That's Ricky Simón style. People used to talk about Ricky Simón like he was Marab. I remember that was a time when people talked about this guy. Oh, and Ricky Simón, I mean, that guy just never stops. I mean, he's got the best cardio in the game. And it's like, yeah, based on what? Like, this guy has one blast double leg, a big overhand. He throws 4 techniques around, okay? 4 techniques around. That's Ricky Simón. Either way, Cameron Smotherman is going to have a output advantage. He's going to have the boxing advantage, but he's taking this on short notice. We don't even have to waste any time. He's taking this on a week's notice, okay? And he just lost to Surdy City. And I'm not saying Surdy City couldn't be competitive with Ricky Simón. I'm just saying, like, people just don't win when they're taking big steps up in competition on a week's notice, all right? I think Ricky Simón is going to go in there and knock this dude out. Unfortunately for Cameron Smotherman, I do not see him going a hard 15 minutes right now. At least, I don't see this guy, you know, he's going to have a tough weight cut. He's going to be in there with the most powerful guy he's ever fought, who's going to be shooting takedowns. I don't see it going so well. I'm going to go with Ricky Simón by a TKO. He's coming off of that brilliant KO against one of the Bashrap bros. But don't get me wrong. This will be a tougher fight on the feet. The question with the Bashrap bros is, could they get Ricky Simón's back? Could they take him down? But we knew on the feet there were going to be no issue for him. Cameron Smotherman's got at least some thud on his punches, and he's got good boxing. So this could be scrappy early. I just see Ricky Simón either getting himself a decision, mixing in the wrestling, or landing himself a big gnarly KO. Let's get on to the next one. I would have picked Charles Jourdain, by the way, to beat Ricky Simón. I was going to pick him. Just wanted to let you guys know that I was excited to pick Charles Jourdain, man. But let's get on to the next one. Cody Durden versus Jose Ochoa. They're calling this guy the next Charles Oliveira, man. He had a split decision against Loner Kavanaugh. I don't know if it was a split decision. I think it just may have been a 29-28, but he had a very close fight with one of the UFC's best flyweight prospects, Loner Kavanaugh. Super fast, super well-rounded. I'm talking about Loner Kavanaugh, but so is Jose Ochoa. He's got a really dynamic style on the feet. He'll throw flying knees, flying front kicks to the midsection. He's got good hands. He's got good kicks. He's got himself a couple of submissions, but Cody Durden, he's really going to have the experience. So you're either picking Cody Durden because you think he's going to get, you know, the takedowns going in this fight. He's a good wrestler. Maybe he can stall out the fight, win himself a decision. But I'm actually going to go with Jose Ochoa. I think Cody Durden's kind of slowing down, and every time I pick Cody Durden to win based on his wrestling pedigree, he always takes a loss. So I don't know, man. I think Cody Durden's slowing down a bit. I'm going to pick the up-and-comer in this fight. I think he's had a full training camp for this. And again, he looked really good against Loner Kavanaugh. That was a real competitive fight, and this guy's speed is going to be much faster. He's going to be a lot quicker than Cody Durden. And I think he might get himself a finish or just win himself a decision. But I'm going to go with the prospect in this one. But don't be surprised if Cody Durden gets himself a couple takedowns. Let's get on to the next one. I'm going to go with Kris Moutinho to beat Malcolm Wellmaker. Malcolm Wellmaker's good.
I just think Kris Moutinho's a little bit too aggressive.
And that's one thing that can really throw guys off that aren't experienced. Malcolm Wellmaker, he's going to go out there, he's going to slug, and then he's going to... No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm going to go with Malcolm Wellmaker to knock out Kris Moutinho in the first round. I do think that Kris Moutinho has himself a chance to, stay in the fight at least and make it competitive, because obviously you get brutally finished by Sean O'Malley. It wasn't the most brutal knockout. He got stopped standing on the feet, but O'Malley landed about 300 strikes on this guy's head. And then in his next fight, he got brutally knocked out at the Apex by an old head, okay? Then he gets cut from the UFC, but he's now on a 5-fight win streak, and it takes a gritty guy, a special type of fighter, to get cut from the UFC after taking 2 brutal losses where everyone thinks you're garbage, to then go on a 5-fight win streak with a bunch of finishes. This guy's got heart. This guy's got grit. I have no doubt that he is better than he was before. But let's say he is better. What is he? Cameron Simon level? At best, Kris Moutinho, an improved Kris Moutinho, is going to be at the Cameron Simon level after improving. But what just happened to Cameron Simon? He got smoked in 1 round. And I picked Malcolm Wellmaker to put Simon out because of the power difference, man. Malcolm Wellmaker, this guy hits really hard for the bantamweight division. He's got 2 first-round KOs already in the UFC, or maybe one of them's on the Dana White Contender Series, but he's undefeated. He's knocking people out cold. He's got a nasty right hand. I'm picking this guy to KO Kris Moutinho in the first round. Kris Moutinho, I highly doubt that this guy's head movement and defense has gotten that much better. He's going to get hit, and I do think that Malcolm Wellmaker is going to have a serious power advantage, and I think he's going to win this one. But we'll see. Maybe Kris Moutinho can just make it gritty. Maybe he can make it scrappy, get into the clinch, try to wear on Malcolm Wellmaker, but I'm just picking Malcolm Wellmaker by a nasty KO. Let's get on. Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. Court McGee is a long-lost cousin of Nico Price. He's sort of got the dodo bird build, right? And then, of course, Michael Chiesa is on a bit of a resurgence, getting 2 submissions, one over Max Griffin. That's a pretty good win right there, even though, Max Griffin, he fights like an NPC, but Michael Chiesa submitted him. Max Griffin, famous for going out there throwing 7 strikes around. And then you have the win over Tony Ferguson, where he got Tony Ferguson out of there in 1 round, which... Tony moved up to welterweight. He was severely undersized, malnourished. Tony at 155 is getting malnourished, right? That's not because of the weight cut, but that's just because he was losing muscle rapidly, right? Tony needed to get on that Real Food Cookbook and that Ultimate Lifting program. But either way, Michael Chiesa, he's a good grappler. And Court McGee, who is this guy even beating? Court McGee is fighting the Nico Prices of the world. He's fighting the Alex Moranos. He's fighting all the old heads that you don't even know why they're in the UFC. There's so many UFC fighters that, when people say, just because you're in the UFC doesn't make you a better fighter, that is true when it comes to people like Court McGee, Alex Morano, right? Morano, I'm not saying he's garbage. I'm just saying, when people say there are Bellator fighters better than UFC fighters, what they mean is Patchy Mix is better than Court McGee. That's what they should mean, all right? Unfortunately, they were dead wrong. They meant that Patchy was freaking top 5 level. But, yeah, I'm going with Michael Chiesa. Court McGee is going to go out there. He's going to dodo bird around, and Michael Chiesa is going to impose his will in the grappling. What does Court McGee do? What does this guy do in a fight? He goes out there, fucking dodo birds around, throws a couple punches, throws a couple kicks. What do you mean, man? There's going to be some hardcore fan in the comments. What do you mean, man? You didn't, study Court McGee's style for 24 hours before making this video? You didn't go back and watch every single minute of every single fight that he's had in the last 5 years? No, I didn't. Okay, and I don't need to. I know that Michael Chiesa is going to go for the grappling. He's still looking to be in better shape than Court McGee. He's dense. I think he's going to get a takedown, and I think he's going to get a submission. So I'm going with Michael Chiesa by submission. Let's get on to a more interesting matchup, which is Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. I'm going with Rodolfo Bellato, all right? I'm going with Alex Pereira's long-lost brother, right? Who doesn't have the left hook of doom, but has a very gritty style. Rodolfo Bellato has the ability to go out there and Andreas Gustafsson, all right? He's got the ability to go out there and get you in the clinch and whoop your ass. And this is the thing. Paul Craig, he's back at light heavyweight, right? Maybe he's taking a little bit of that middleweight skill with him, man. Maybe he's got a little bit of those good old takedowns. But, Paul Craig's got some crafty takedowns. You can't say he doesn't, right? Remember when he fought Andre Muniz? He was taking Andre Muniz with these nice double legs. You can't count out Paul Craig. He could shoot himself a nice double leg. He can get you down and, he can make it real dangerous. He can land elbows. He can go for a submission. The thing is, though, Rodolfo Bellato, he's got momentum. I think he arguably beat Jimmy Crute, and I think that Jimmy Crute is a better fighter right now than Paul Craig. I know that Jimmy Crute is known for being kind of mediocre, and Paul Craig has at least an X factor, which is his grappling, but let's not forget, Jimmy Crute has good grappling. Jimmy Crute is a submission threat. Jimmy Crute has always been known for being dangerous on the ground, but Jimmy Crute is tough, and he had improved striking in the Rodolfo Bellato fight. He didn't take down Rodolfo Bellato easily, and I'm sure he tried a few times, but because of that, I think that this is going to be similar to that. I think Paul Craig is going to struggle. I think Rodolfo Bellato is going to be rooted to the ground. He's a pretty dense guy in the light heavyweight division. He's not the biggest light heavyweight, but he's pretty dense. He has that ability to just shuck you off. I think this is going to be a bit of a striking match, and what does Paul Craig have in the striking? He's got a bunch of body kicks. Body kick, body kick, body kick. And Rodolfo Bellato is not going to make it close. Rodolfo Bellato is going to go in there trying to land at will. He's going to let his hands go. That's one thing I have no doubt about. Rodolfo Bellato is going to let his hands go. He doesn't have the best chin. I will say that. He does not have a great chin, but it doesn't matter in this fight because Paul Craig does not hit hard. He's got pillow hands. I'm going with Rodolfo Bellato by a KO. And to be honest, if he makes this shit look easier than Cal Baraujo, that ain't going to be a good look for Cal Baraujo. All right? That ain't going to be a good look. So I think it's going to be tougher than that. I do think that this is going to be closer than the odds suggest. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, minus 375 favorite. I think that he's a little bit too much of a favorite. I would probably say, minus 150, minus 200 max. But 375... it might be, a decent idea if you are someone that bets. I mean, hey, I don't bet, but it might be, worth, if you do, maybe tossing a couple bucks on Paul Craig because those odds are nice. But either way, those odds are nice. Let's get on to, I'm going with Rodolfo Bellato by a avalanche snowball effect TKO. All right, and then we'll get on to the main card. Alonzo Menifield versus Oumar Sy. This is a tough one. I know Alonzo Menifield just had a war with Julius Walker, who is the new marauder on the block. The guy that was built like Shavkat Rakhmonov, just sort of zombied his way forward. Oumar Sy, he's on a 2-fight win streak. He's undefeated in the UFC. I say 2-fight win streak. He's on an 11-fight win streak, but he's undefeated. Is he going to get to the top 10 with an undefeated record? I don't know. He schooled Da Un Young. What was the other win that he had? It was a Tuco Tokos. So both of these guys have fought themselves a couple legends, Tuco Tokos, Julius Walker. Oumar Sy could mix it up, but then again, Alonzo Menifield's got good takedown defense. Oumar Sy is not that powerful, and I don't think his chin is going to hold up like Julius Walker, guys. I think this is going to be a big bump up in competition because even though Alonzo Menifield, he doesn't have great fight IQ, and he does, tend to he gets KO'd every now and then. He has that ability to have a granite chin from time to time, too. It's kind of weird. He'll get one punch KO'd by Olberg. Well, he kind of just ran into the left hook, right? But still, I think we're going to get an Alonzo Menifield KO. I know Oumar Sy is going to have a reach advantage. I know he's going to have a height advantage. But I just see him trying to be too clean, too technical, sort of getting into the flow of things, sort of forgetting it's a fight. And then I just see Alonzo Menifield cracking him. I feel like Oumar Sy is going to school Alonzo in the first round. I see Alonzo Menifield finding a KO shot, but this could be a bad pick. What are the odds looking like? Holy shit. Minus 700 for Oumar Sy. I know he's good, but, Jimmy Crute lost to Alonzo Menifield, right? Alonzo Menifield beat the shit out of Jimmy Crute in the rematch and partially in their first fight. I don't think Oumar Sy's taking this guy down and choking him out like Tuco Tokos. That's not happening. And then he went to a decision with Dao Young. And Dao Young's okay. He has a knack of, he's got an ability to freaking make guys like Carlos Ulberg look kind of mediocre. This is not Dao Young, man. Alonzo Menifield's actually super dangerous. So I'm going with Alonzo Menifield by KO. That's a risky pick, but I'm picking him nonetheless. Mansur Abdul Malik versus Cody Brundage. I'll say that he's going to beat Cody Brundage because Cody Brundage he's just not very good. And he's not that tough. That's the problem. If there's any adversity in a Cody Brundage fight, he really just wilts as quickly as you could imagine. I mean, faster than you could blink. Sometimes you see Cody Brundage, he's got a fire lit under him, and then in a blink of an eye, this guy's tapping to strikes. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm going with Mansur Abdul Malik, dude. I think he's going to school Cody Brundage. I think he's going to knock him out. Nick Klein was crafty. He landed that spinning elbow and rocked him, but I don't think Cody Brundage is as crafty as Nick Klein. So let's get on to the next one. This is interesting. Cody Garbrandt versus Raoni Barcelos. We were all doubting Raoni going into the Peyton Talbot fight because Raoni Barcelos wasn't looking so good going into that fight. But the thing is, he had a classic Barcelos performance. I shouldn't say so classic. I mean, he shot a couple takedowns throughout his career before that fight. He does have a wrestling background, Raoni Barcelos. He's got a good wrestling pedigree. I forget exactly how elite it is, but he does have a wrestling background, and he showcased it in the Talbot fight, put on a wrestling clinic. Now, this is not Peyton Talbot. This is Cody Garbrandt. This is a guy who's got brick wall takedown defense. I say that doing, in quotes, but I mean, that didn't work out so well against Davidson Figueiredo. That's why I picked Figgy. I said Figgy by lighter man skill and takedowns and submission threats. I'm going to go with Raoni Barcelos to beat Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt's been out of the cage for a long time. And so is Barcelos, right? But he's been in there a little bit more recent, right? I don't remember when Peyton Talbot last fought. I think it was last summer, maybe. It may have been International Fight Week. It may have been the fall. I forget when he last fought, but it was not as long ago as Cody Garbrandt, which was UFC 300. That was a while ago. And he was doing all right against Figgy. People are going to be bringing that up. I know people are going to be bringing up the fact that Cody Garbrandt was landing good shots on Figueiredo and whatnot, and he's fast. He's always fast. That's what he has. That's all he kind of has, though. Cody Garbrandt's not a guy that's going to tune you up on the feet, land high output, stick a jab in your face. He's a guy that's against a Dominic Cruz when the stars align, and he knows Cruz has pillow hands. He's going to feel comfortable to get right in the pocket with his chin on a silver platter and let his right hand go and do emotes because he knows Cruz can't hurt him. And that type of fight, Cody Garbrandt is untouchable. But against someone with average power, average Joe power, or just another elite skill set, I think that Cody Garbrandt usually comes up short. This is a very even fight. I pick against Cody Garbrandt when he's fighting the elite fighters. We can't sit there and act like Raoni Barcelos is truly elite. And every now and then we see one of these old heads have a great performance and then they look totally washed in their next fight. Like frickin' Carlos Diego Ferreira schooling Mateusz Raumbetsky and then taking an L to Grant Dawson. Although, Grant Dawson's a very good fighter, but Carlos Diego Ferreira just looked older in that fight. I mean, he got destroyed in the grappling, and that's pretty uncommon for a guy like that. Either way, I just think Raoni Barcelos is going to be a little bit too crafty. I don't think the Cody Garbrandt style, I know he's an OG, okay? I don't think he's going to have a lot of changes. I think Cody Garbrandt is always a big winging hook and a big gnarly right hand, right? I think he's a guy that relies on speed and speed alone with some pop. I look at Raoni Barcelos and I see a guy that can kick. I see a guy that can put together combos on the feet. I see a guy, reminds me of Jose Aldo. There were Jose Aldo comparisons throughout his whole career. People were saying he's sort of like a, slightly worse Jose Aldo. But nonetheless, if you're getting compared to Aldo, your striking's pretty good. You can put things together. You're a well-rounded striker. That's a guy that's going to be able to add crafty little tools onto his game. That's a guy that's going to be able to mix in the jab, go to the body, land up stairs. You know what I mean? That's a guy that's going to be able to chop the leg, land low, shoot a double leg. Okay? I'm seeing a crafty performance from Raoni Barcelos. I know this guy, especially after that last fight where there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of attention on his last fight against Talbot. He went in there and he schooled Talbot in the grappling. He's got that wrestling background, that wrestling pedigree. He sees that Cody Garbrandt, he's fighting him next. Cody Garbrandt just got choked out by Davidson Figueiredo, who mixed in the grappling. He's going to fucking mix in the grappling again. All right? I'm going with Raoni Barcelos, and I'm picking him by decision here. I'm going with him by decision. Maybe even a sneaky submission. A sub. Like Dan Hardy says, I think he's going to get him. I think he's going to sub him. I'm going to go with Raoni Barcelos by submission. I just think Cody Garbrandt, if he doesn't get himself a big old KO, he loses. And that's kind of how it always is, right? Unless he's fighting someone like Trevin Giles. But again, it's like that's the level that he's beating, and it's still not looking that great. And I know he does the running man in the cage and the emotes even in that fight, but he gets rocked in the third round. Like, he landed 2 punches. That was like a Joe Piper, Kelvin Gastelum type of fight, right? Raoni Barcelos is crafty. He has high output. He's a great kickboxer, right? He's got wrestling. He's got a great gas tank. He's a smart fighter. He's going to win this fight. I'm looking at the odds. I don't even know what the odds are. Oh, yeah, he's the favorite. So, yeah, but either way, I'm going with Raoni Barcelos. You know I know that this is a lock, okay? I'm not going to call it a lock. I take that back because I want to actually get this right. I just don't think Cody Garbrandt. I don't think Cody Garbrandt is the kind of guy that's going to show us a lot of improvements, you know? A locked-in Garbrandt is a Garbrandt that's full steam ahead. A Garbrandt that's, you know, a little bit slicker with his head movement. That's a locked-in Garbrandt. A locked-in Garbrandt's not a switch kick to the body, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. It's just not what Garbrandt does, okay? Either way. He's not a high-output guy. He's a reliant on a KO guy. And these days, those type of fighters are dropping like flies. The guys that are relying on a KO, O'Malley, especially in the type of matchup where he's fighting a guy like Merab, those type of fighters are losing, all right? I'm going to go with the more well-rounded, craftier fighter. Edmen Shahbazyan versus Andre Petroski. Andre Petroski is on a 3-fight win streak. Could you imagine that? He's on a 3-fight win streak after getting hip KO'd by Jacob Pillowhands Malkoun. They say power comes from the hips, the torque in the hips, right? Pillowhands Malkoun KO'd this guy with his hip. And he basically KO'd himself shooting a takedown. Andre Petroski is like, if you were to look up split decision in a dictionary, a photo of Andre Petroski is going to come up. Like, he just doesn't have an X factor. Every time this guy fights, Wellington Turman, that was like the battle, that was the great battle of the mids, right? Where Andre Petroski's, you know, he's got mid boxing, he's got okay wrestling. I remember he was calling out Bo Nickel. You know what? I actually think that'd be a competitive fight. That would actually be very competitive, him versus Bo, because I don't think Bo is that much better, but Andre Petroski, you got to commend his grit. You got to commend his ability to come back from getting hip KO'd. I seriously mean that. I mean, that's a pretty bad way to take a KO loss. You're not going to be confident in your durability after that, but nonetheless, he's got himself 3 wins in a row against pretty average Joe levels of competition. He can mix in the takedowns. He's got very average boxing, very average striking. You know, not a whole lot of pop. I'm going to go with Edmen Shahbazyan here. Edmen Shahbazyan. Now, every time Edmen Shahbazyan is coming off of a crazy performance, he always gets destroyed in his next fight. He had a crazy performance, and then he fought GM3, and he got submitted. And now he's coming off of another crazy KO. I forget who he fought in his last fight, but he knocked him out cold in the first round. I think it was Dylan Budka, right? Dylan Budka was the guy with the wrestling pedigree that couldn't take down anyone in the UFC. And Andre Petroski is a lot better than Dylan Budka. I mean, Petroski can actually land takedowns. He can actually strike a little bit. This is going to be a trickier fight. You could say that if this goes the full distance, Andre Petroski has himself a chance, but I'm going to go with Edmen. I see something different right now. I see Edmen coming into his prime. He's got a different level of cool, calm, and collectedness about him these days. He's no longer green. He's a vet. He's a real hardened, grizzled vet in the UFC. And he's looking real slick as of late. He's looking very slick. He's always had a gas tank problem. That's always been an issue for Edmen. He slows down quite a bit after the first round, but Andre Petroski's not someone that's just ragdolling people. This is not someone that overwhelms people and they're just getting drowned. Although Edmen Shahbazyan's gas tank is not good and Andre Petroski's an okay wrestler and it could look like he's going to get drowned in the third round, I think he's going to get a KO. I think Petroski's a little bit too slow. He sort of has this T-Rex arms reach. I think Edmen's going to crack him. I think he's going to put him away. I think prime Edmen Shahbazyan is going to rise to right around that top 15 level. I don't know if he gets further. I don't know if he gets into the top 10, but I think he's going to get to that, very close to the top 15 level. And I think he's going to pick himself up a KO. Now, I know we just broke down a fight where I said that Cody Garbrandt's reliant on KOs and people that are reliant on KOs don't win anymore. But Edmen Shahbazyan is not like reliant on one punch. Like he's a pretty slick striker. He can head kick you too. He's got a well-rounded striking game. He can, add a lot of accumulative damage, right? So I think he's probably going to school Petroski early on in this fight. Maybe even win himself the first 2 rounds, but I'm picking him by a finish. Let's get on to the next one. Miranda Maverick versus Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas does not have the same fire that she had when she was fighting Zhang Weili, when she knocked Zhang Weili out. But I still think she's going to win this. Miranda Maverick, she's going to shoot a couple takedowns. She's going to throw a couple punches. Rose Namajunas is a former champion. She's going to land slicker boxing combos. She's going to throw a couple of kicks. She's going to say, I'm the best. I think Rose Namajunas is going to win by decision. Let's get on to the next one. Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. Okay, let's get fired up a bit. Let's get our energy back. Kamaru Usman is going to piece up Joaquin Buckley, and I think it's going to be tough for Joaquin Buckley. But I'm picking Buckley by KO. Okay? I'm picking Buckley to knock out Kamaru Usman in round 2 or round 3. And this is the thing. Buckley has a serious issue in his game, and that's at range. He's not very good at range, okay? But Kamaru Usman's got an even more serious issue in his game, and that's in the pocket, okay? And that's where Buckley is at his best. Buckley is a killer in the pocket. And I know he got KO'd in the pocket. This is the thing. If you're going to knock Buckley out, you're going to have to do it in the pocket. Or, I guess you can be a Kevin Holland sniper, land a long, rangy 1-2. Wonder Boy was long and rangy. He was having success, but he doesn't have any power in his hands, so he can't hurt you. Buckley could get caught in the pocket. He is a little wild in the pocket, but his boxing has improved. He's a lot slicker than he was when he was fighting Chris Curtis, when he was fighting Morano, and I was making fun of him saying, this guy's trying to be like Mike Tyson, man, doing all the head movement. Where's the freaking slick combos? He's showing us slick combos these days, right? He's, you can see him when he's KOing Wonder Boy with the slow motion. You can see him head off to the side multiple times, and then he leaps into his punch. Beautiful stuff from Joaquin Buckley. He's going to get pieced up at range, though. He's just not very good with his jab. He doesn't have a great jab. It's okay. He's been adding a little bit more to it, right? He's improving on it, but it's not great. Kamaru Usman is going to piece this guy the fuck up early. The problem is, when you get past Kamaru Usman's 1-2, and you get past that crafty jab of Usman, and it's pretty gnarly. It's powerful. It's gnarly. Even in the Hamzat fight, it was looking good. Whenever you see Usman slugging in the pocket, he's powerful. He's explosive, but he's not torquing everything into his punch, right? When Buckley is in the pocket throwing hooks, like he's throwing his entire body into it, but it's with good technique. Kamaru Usman, when he's slugging in the pocket, he's not moving his legs. He's not turning over his back foot when he's throwing a right hook. He's not sitting on the punch. He's just kind of just winging his hands around, eyes closed. And he looks real ugly in the pocket, man. You see that moment against Hamzat Chimaev at the end of that fight where they're slugging in the pocket. And to be fair, he was catching Hamzat. That's that lighter man's skill. That's that lighter man's speed. Hamzat's gassed. That's the thing with Hamzat. He was tired as fuck in the third round. Buckley doesn't tire. He doesn't slow down. Kamaru Usman in the pocket is a wild man, and I'm not saying that in a good way. Whereas Joaquin Buckley in the pocket is a wild man in a good way. Where, again, he's putting his entire body into a punch. He's turning over on his shots. He's really improved his boxing, and he's got more speed than Usman. As I said, at range, Usman's going to be tagging this guy up. He's going to be freaking piecing him up. He's going to be piecing him up. Okay? He's going to be busting Joaquin Buckley's lip open. This ain't no Colby Covington situation. All right? Where the only thing Colby did in that entire fight, outside of land one takedown, was throw that spinning freaking Superman kick, which, that was pretty slick. But the way I see this fight is I think Kamaru's going to go out there, and I think he's going to look real good in the first round. I think that jab is going to be landing on Joaquin Buckley, and I think Buckley is going to have a tough time getting on the inside of Kamaru Usman, right? However, I think in the second and third, I think Buckley, again, in his prime, all the momentum in the world, hungry as ever, okay? Getting his confidence up after knocking out Wonderboy, someone that's almost impossible to KO or impossible to beat on the feet. Schooling Colby Covington, shucking him off. His best round against Colby was in the third, right? He got taken down in the second. It looked like, oh, wait a second, here we go. And then third round, he's beating the shit out of Colby Covington, sprawling takedowns effortlessly, reversing the position, beating him up in top position, cutting him open, and finishing the fight. Buckley gets better as fights go on. In the second and in the third round, Buckley is going to have taken a couple of jabs, and he's going to start finding that rhythm. He builds into his fights. He's going to start finding that rhythm. Again, Usman, old head, cobblestone knees. Buckley's going to be chopping at the legs. He knows. This ain't, Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree goes in there, fights Anthony Smith, doesn't throw a single fucking leg kick, which is so annoying. Joaquin Buckley, he's going to be aware of the cobblestone knees. He's going to be chopping low. Round two, he's going to find his rhythm. He's going to start building into the fight. Maybe Usman takes him down in the first, drags him to the canvas to mix it up a little bit, and Kamaru Usman's got the cardio. The commentators are going to start saying, oh, here we go. Usman's going to start putting that pace on him. I don't know if Buckley's going to keep up. It's going to be nothing, because the thing is, Kamaru Usman doesn't have submissions. He doesn't have great ground and pound. It used to be decent, but he's got good control. I don't think that he's going to control Joaquin Buckley, who's super built for the division. He's dense. He's explosive. He can get back up to his feet. Real tough to hold down. And I don't think Kamaru's just going to want to shoot 50 takedowns. I think that, if he can't keep Joaquin Buckley down, we're going to see a couple minutes of striking. Then he'll go for a takedown. If he gets it stuffed, a couple more minutes of striking. There are going to be those 2-minute time, moments where he's going to be just standing with Joaquin Buckley. And he's going to find his rhythm. He's going to start landing. Usman's legs are going to start, slowing down because of the cobblestones. And I think round 2, round 3, Joaquin Buckley is going to start catching Usman in the pocket with big hooks, big overhands. He's got a speed advantage. And I think that Buckley, again, super hungry to get to the belt, starting to gain more confidence. Kamaru Usman, he's been out of the cage for a few years, already done everything that there is to do in the sport. He's one of the greatest fighters in the history of the sport. It's going to start getting gritty. It's going to start getting scrappy. Second and third round, it's going to be a bit of a war of attrition. And I think Buckley is not going to wilt, not for a fucking second. And I don't think Usman is. Usman's very tough. But I think Buckley, despite having a tough time in the first round taking those jabs, because he's not that good at range, and I could see him being susceptible to a really good jab, he's going to be fine. He has the same reach as Usman. When he's closing the distance, if he can get past that jab, that reach is then going to be a problem for Usman. Because usually in the pocket, Usman's slugging with his eyes closed, but he still sort of has the reach advantage, and he can crack you. Buckley they're going to go hook for hook, boxing combo for boxing combo. Buckley is faster, and he hits harder, and his pocket boxing is better, and he throws more into his shots. I honestly could see a flatline. Like, maybe not a flatline, but like a serious KO. I'm going to pick Buckley by a serious second or third round KO. I think he's going to catch Usman in the pocket. End of the second round, middle of the third round, something like that. after taking a bunch of jabs. And I think that Usman's going to get wobbled a few times, and then, Buckley's going to find the shot. That's what I think is going to happen in this fight. Usman is older, right? I still think he's going to look pretty decent in this fight. I think he'll get himself a couple of takedowns, but I mean, this is not prime Usman. And even prime Usman, right? And Buckley's not the same wrestler that Colby was when Colby was in his prime in 2019 and 2021 when Kamaru fought Colby. But even prime Usman against Colby Covington, who doesn't have a lot of pop, is getting tuned up in the pocket. That's the thing. When you see Usman's legendary fights with Colby Covington, they get scrappy. That's Colby. That's Pillow Hands Colby. And Kamaru Usman's telling you on podcasts, man, Colby had that sting. Colby was stinging me. Like, Buckley is faster than Colby Covington, way faster. He's got a much longer reach. He's got the same reach as Kamaru Usman, okay? And that's where Usman struggles. At range against Colby Covington, that's where Usman was doing work in the first fight. It was at range. Landing the jab, landing the straight right hand, the teep kicks up the middle. That's where Usman was lethal in that Colby fight. In the pocket, that's where Colby was doing work. It was when these guys were trading combos, and Buckley's power has always been good, but again, he's now got the skill, which makes him lethal. When he was fighting Morano, when he was fighting, Chris Curtis, he looked super green. His boxing wasn't that good. I mean, he was really just all power, right? But now he's got power, and he's putting it together with his combos, and that makes him that much more lethal in the pocket. I think he's going to KO Usman. Usman's going to pay in the pocket. That's where he struggles. If Buckley can't KO Usman, though, I still think he could win this fight because I think that he's going to maybe be able to outdamage Usman. Either way, this is a young man's game. Joaquin Buckley, I think he's 28, 29 years old. He's had his ups and downs, right? And now he's on a hot streak, and he's got more confidence than ever before. So I'm picking Joaquin Buckley. I think Usman's going to get KO'd. I don't think he's going to wilt, but I think that he's not going to be able to handle, getting hit with like 15 solid hooks, right hands in the pocket. I think one of them is going to put him away. Okay. So yeah, Joaquin Buckley, second or third round KO. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Until next time.